Alright, welcome back to another episode with the ZHP, and it's going to be a big one because, as you can see, we're no longer going to be one wheel peeling. I got a spec E46 limited slip. It's a 4-clutch unit. It's a very common one that everybody gets. It's all built, Z4 fin diff cover, and we're going to throw this into this car, which also means the 307 is going to be for sale if anybody wants it. There's not much introduction to go on there. I'm going to be putting in some Turner Motorsports aluminum bushings, pushing out the stock rubber ones that I put in only a year or so ago, and it's going to be pretty straightforward. Hopefully it takes me less than 2 hours. Let's get the footage rolling.
So we're going to start with dropping off the exhaust. This one's done with V-band, so it's really easy to get everything off. Then we're going to have to get the sway bar off, the subframe brace off, and then at that point we're working on our axles and drive shafts just to disconnect everything from that differential.
Okay, so the easy part is done. As you can see, dropped the diff out. Literally by accident, I dropped the diff, but it's out. Now the harder part is making sure that my bushing press tools can get this guy and those guys out again without breaking. Now these are eBay tools, so we'll see if they work for another round. I'm crossing my fingers that they do, and that they can easily push in the aluminum ones. I got the aluminum ones in the freezer, so they're going to be slightly contracted, so hopefully if I do them one at a time, and I do them quickly enough with a little bit of lube, they press in pretty easily and I don't have to struggle. Alright, so 20 minutes later, we got the bushings in. It takes about 20 minutes per side to remove and replace. Here's the tools that I used. This is your typical BMW rear subframe or rear axle bushing toolkit that you get from Amazon or eBay. And this is your 22-piece front wheel drive bearing puller pusher kit that you also get from Amazon or eBay. So using a mix of these two, you are able to get the front bushings out, even though you have that weird weld on the lip of where that bushing sleeve sits. So let's talk about which ones you need. So obviously to press out the bushing, you need the gold sleeve. That's what receives the front bushing. To push it, you're going to use this silver one right here. As you can see, they both fit in pretty well, and it's going to come out like butter. Now, to push it back in, you would want to use this, except you're pushing from the back of the car forwards. And the aluminum bushings, they require you to be pushing from the front of the car backwards. You can't use these sleeves. What you end up using is this black sleeve that's also in the subframe kit, and then this flange from the front wheel drive wheel bearing. You don't have to use one like this, but I like the bigger hole just because it lets the rod offset itself a little bit, because that weld on that subframe still impacts this just a little bit, but this is just big enough to sit on that sleeve, or yeah, that bushing sleeve on the subframe itself pretty well, and you're good to go. Now this diameter is about the same as this gold one, so you can also use this gold one, except it just has that smaller hole, so you can't really offset this rod as easily. So I didn't try, because I have this guy from rear wheel bearings and also to push out subframe bushings. So now we're going to probably pivot over to this guy completely, and we're going to get the rear bushing out from the rear differential. Now let's talk about the tools we use to push in the aluminum bushing with my subframe tools. what I ended up using is this as a backer plate to make sure that the aluminum bushing would sit flush against it. Since this rod is smaller, I had to use this guy so it wouldn't push through this backer plate. And then the pressing sleeve would be this guy right here because it was slightly smaller than the outer diameter flange of the aluminum bushing. And then you just drive it in from the passenger side of the car towards the driver's side. The flanges just have to sit flush and then you're good to go. So to drive this bushing in, I went in from the passenger side and push it in this way. The flanges just have to sit flush with whatever is on the subframe itself. So that's why you just needed that backing plate on the driver's side back here of the mount. So it would just sit flush with that. And it was pretty simple. And now you can see Turner Motorsports bushings are in. We are ready to fill up the 346 diff with some ADW 140 and button everything up from here.
And the last step is just to torque everything. I like to spread some anti-seize on all the flange mating surfaces because I've had issues before in the past where a little bit of water seeps in and the rust literally welds the two flanges together and makes it really difficult to remove it. Anyways, to report back on how well the diff did, I absolutely loved it at Harris Hill. It was a really bumpy track, but at no point did the diff ever open up and cause wheel spin. I could also feel the diff start to turn the car on really tight corners when I'm applying power out of them because that outside wheel is locked in, so it's trying to get that car to rotate and that inside wheel isn't going to be spinning at all. And there you have it. Thank you guys for joining me on another update.